Chapter 35:15. I was the one who discovered this kid first. The old man who started yelled and stared at the others. So what if you discovered him? I want this kid. Another old woman said coldly. Her aura was oppressive and incomparably terrifying, even stronger than the old man from before. 9th level Divine Lord. Lu Ming revealed a look of shock. This old woman was definitely a 9th level Divine Lord existence. In the Taishu dynasty, Lu Ming had felt the aura of a 9th level Divine Lord powerhouse before. The two were similar. You want him? Why should you want him? I even said that I want him. A deep voice sounded. A burly man sneered, not afraid of the old woman at all. Obviously, he was also a figure of the same level. Lu Ming felt a headache. This time, it was really mysterious. He really walked into a dragon's den. What should I do now? Do I have to take out the purple copper coffin again? That's a way to perish together. Lu Ming's mind turned quickly. He was unwilling to give up. He had not found the autumn moon yet. Oh right, the divine dragon statues, and that feeling came from these mountains. After coming here, the feeling of these mountains became stronger. It's as if there are divine dragons residing in these mountains. Thinking of this, Lu Ming's heart stirred. If he could mobilize all the divine dragon statues, he might be able to fight. Immediately, Lu Ming desperately urged the blood in his body, wanting to mobilize those statues. But there was no response. Could it be that the distance is too far? What should I do? Oh right, primordial divine dragon horn. Give it a try. Lu Ming thought of the primordial divine dragon horn. With a thought, the primordial divine dragon horn appeared. At this time, the surrounding powerhouses were confronting each other. The atmosphere was getting more and more tense. I think we should take down this kid together and study him. If we can find a way to get out, we can all go out together. Someone suggested. All right, let's do that. Then let's do it. These people reached a consensus and planned to take down Lu Ming first to study him together. As for whether Lu Ming agreed or not, they could not be bothered. Why would they care if a mere divine king agreed or not? Many pairs of eyes stared at Lu Ming at the same time. Let's do it. Lu Ming grabbed the primordial divine dragon horn and blew into it. Woo woo woo. Following this, the sound of an ancient horn could be heard. It was as if it had traveled through endless time and space. In an instant, it spread throughout the entire area. Roar, roar, roar. In the next moment, a series of dragon roars echoed in the sky. The divine dragon statues in front of the palace roared toward the sky and moved. Dozens of divine dragon statues flew toward Lu Ming. What happened? Those experts were shocked and subconsciously stepped aside. Then, those mystical dragon statues all appeared around Lu Ming, protecting Lu Ming in the middle. It really works. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He had not expected the immemorial divine dragon horn to have such an effect. It could even command the divine dragon statue. Could this be the true usage of the ancient divine dragon horn? It seemed like he had been blind in the past to use the primordial divine dragon horn as a weapon. It was a complete waste. The surrounding experts were stunned for a moment. Then, their eyes lit up. This kid can actually control the divine dragon statue. All the more we have to take him down for research. That's right. Perhaps we can really find a way out. Those experts whispered. Then, they made their move. The void trembled and exploded. Terrifying attacks pressed towards Lu Ming. Of course, they were pressing towards those divine dragon statues. They did not want to kill Lu Ming just like that. How would they research after killing Lu Ming? Roar, roar, roar. All the divine dragon statues roared. Their bodies emitted a resplendent radiance as they soared into the sky. Dragon claws tore through the air and clawed at those attacks. This space shook violently and a huge explosion occurred. It was completely annihilated. However, those surrounding experts, some of them were really strong. Their cultivation reached 9th level Divine Lord, their strength heaven-shocking. Some divine dragon statues could not withstand it at all. A series of cracks directly appeared on their bodies, then they exploded. In an instant, more than a dozen statues exploded. If this continued, these divine dragon statues would definitely not be able to block these experts. Continue. Lu Ming circulated his divine power crazily. Then, he blew the primordial divine dragon bugle. He felt that there was a force in every mountain peak. The reason why Lu Ming sensed it previously was because of this force in the mountain peak. If he could summon it, he could reverse the current situation. Woo 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 woo, the ancient bugle sounded, becoming more and more intense. Finally, it broke through the clouds. Those divine dragon statues roared and charged towards these experts like they had gone mad. At the same time, there was a strange change in the mountains and rivers. Every mountain and river suddenly emitted a resplendent radiance. Roar. Following that, a dragon's roar sounded, penetrating gold and cracking stone. The next moment, a divine dragon suddenly rushed out of the mountain peak closest to Lu Ming. This divine dragon was pitch black all over. There were 6 dragon claws on its abdomen. This was a 6-clawed divine dragon. At the scene, everyone was stunned. A 6-clawed divine dragon actually appeared in the mountain peak? What was going on? They had stayed here for so many years and actually did not discover it? No, wait, this isn't a real divine dragon. It's not a body of flesh and blood, but a soul body. This is a dragon soul. Someone cried out in surprise. That's right, this was indeed a dragon soul. Lu Ming had long seen through it. He did not expect that inside this mountain peak, there was actually a dragon soul that was summoned by his primordial divine dragon bugle. Roar. The dragon soul let out a long roar, its gaze like lightning, emitting a vast dragon pressure. Then, it pounced over toward an old man. This old man was that old man who made a move against Lu Ming at the very beginning. An enormous dragon claw directly grabbed down toward this old man. The old man was startled and blasted a palm out with all his might. A terrifying palm print pressed over toward the dragon soul. Bang! An intense rumble. That old man's body retreated explosively, his complexion turning pale. Si. At the scene, many people sucked in a cold breath. This old man was a genuine 8th-level divine lord. And this dragon soul actually repelled the old man with one move. This kind of strength was also too terrifying. The crux was that this was just a dragon soul. After a divine dragon died, the undying battle soul left behind did not have intelligence. Furthermore, no idea how long had passed. Such a long time had passed. A dragon soul actually still had such powerful combat strength. This was inconceivable. What kind of strength should this dragon soul have when it was alive? It absolutely surpassed the divine lord realm. Otherwise, it was absolutely impossible for just a dragon soul to be so strong. Many people's eyes revealed looks of astonishment. Legend has it that this place is a secret base of the Divine Dragon clan. There's a Divine Dragon branch residing here. Sure enough, it's right. Someone whispered, very shocked. Woo woo woo, the ancient bugle horn sound continued to sound out. Following that, astonishing dragon roars came from several more mountain peaks. Chapter 35:16. Several more mountain peaks emitted resplendent light. Dragon roars rang out, and then several huge black divine dragons charged out of the mountain peaks. These divine dragons were also dragon souls. They were pitch black and had 6 dragon claws on their abdomens. They were all 6-clawed divine dragons. Several dragon souls appeared and directly pounced at Lu Ming. Not good. Quickly stop him. Attack. Some of the surrounding powerhouses roared. Their divine powers soared to the sky, forming several terrifying attacks that pressed down on Lu Ming. But dragon roars rang out. Those divine dragon statues and the dragon soul that appeared first did their best to block these people's attacks. And the dragon souls that appeared later had already arrived. Their dragon claws were incomparably sharp. They directly tore through space and grabbed at those experts. Terrifying rumbles rang out. This region was constantly exploding, setting off destructive storms. However, this planet was very strange. The ground was incomparably hard, and the mountains and rivers were even more so. When the terrifying destructive force landed on the ground, although the ground and rocks were constantly exploding, the explosions only left small craters. It had to be known that those experts that appeared later were at least 8th-level divine lords. Just how terrifying was this battle? If it were outside, it would have long destroyed this planet. It could be seen that this region was very extraordinary. Wu 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 Lu Ming constantly blew the primordial divine dragon horn. To be honest, blowing the horn consumed a lot of divine power. The divine power stored in his star core had already been exhausted. But there was an endless stream of divine power coming out of the quantum character art, allowing Lu Ming's divine power to always be abundant. As the primordial divine dragon horn rang out, many mountain peaks were filled with radiance. Dragon roars rang out incessantly. Pitch-black dragon souls appeared one after another. Each of these dragon souls was a six-clawed divine dragon. Furthermore, they were all extremely powerful. They were just dragon souls, but they could actually suppress 8th-level divine lords. Some dragon souls were even stronger and could actually suppress 9th-level divine lords. In just a moment, at least 20 dragon souls appeared. With so many souls unleashing a torrential barrage of attacks on those experts were actually forced into a disadvantageous position. Outside the mountains, the faces of Python Fu and the others were pale. Cold sweat dripped down their foreheads. They were truly stunned by this scene. Lu Ming was actually able to summon a dragon soul. Fortunately, Lu Ming's target was not them. Otherwise, they would already be dead. "Brat, shut up, shut up," an old woman roared. Her strength was very astonishing, being a 9th-level divine lord. She rushed towards Lu Ming, wanting to take down Lu Ming. However, a huge dragon claw reached out to grab her. The two of them exchanged blows, and the old woman retreated quickly. Then, the divine dragon swung its tail at her. Bang! The old woman screamed and retreated quickly, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Roar, roar, roar. Dragon roars continued to resound from the remaining 10 or so mountain peaks. Then, dragon souls rushed out one after another. There were a total of 36 mountains, and each mountain had a dragon soul rushing out. 36 dragon souls and the remaining divine dragon statues were enough to completely crush those experts. With a scream, an 8th-level divine lord was forcefully torn apart by a dragon soul and died on the spot. The remaining people were afraid. They desperately charged, wanting to escape from this place. However, the dragon souls surrounded them, blocking this area. "Old bear, why aren't you making a move? We're all going to die." Suddenly, someone roared. Boom! In the next moment, a terrifying aura came from the depths of the mountains. The moment this aura appeared, heaven and earth became heavy and incomparably oppressive. Then, a loud roar came out. A huge bear appeared in the depths of the mountains. Yes, a huge bear that was tens of thousands of meters tall. Its entire body was covered in pitch-black fur, like a mountain. Its speed was very fast. With a step, it appeared nearby. A huge bear paw slapped toward a dragon soul. Boom! That dragon soul was directly sent flying, crashing into a mountain. The mountain shook, and gravel flew everywhere. Lu Ming saw that the dragon soul's dragon claw shattered, as if it had disappeared into thin air. What terrifying strength! This is a quasi-emperor. Lu Ming's pupils suddenly constricted in incomparable shock. This black bear was actually a quasi-emperor existence. Lu Ming had seen the battle between the Great Void Saint Emperor and the Barbaric Emperor. Both sides' auras were about the same, both earth-shattering. There was actually a quasi-emperor residing here. It was really terrifying. A quasi-emperor was much stronger than a 9th-level divine lord. You can actually summon dragon souls. Interesting. The giant bear opened its mouth, its voice rumbling. It stepped forward, pressing toward Lu Ming. However, a few dragon souls pounced toward the giant bear. Although the dragon souls are strong, they're only equivalent to a divine lord. They're not my match. The giant bear shouted coldly. Its paw slapped out continuously. With each slap, a dragon soul was sent flying. No dragon soul could stop the giant bear. It kept approaching Lu Ming. Wu Wu Wu. Lu Ming blew continuously. Those dragon souls moved according to Lu Ming's will, gathering together and rushing toward the giant bear. With so many dragon souls attacking continuously, the power was also very astonishing. The giant bear was blocked for a moment too. What are you all still in a daze for? Attack together. The giant bear roared loudly at the others. The others were akin to waking up from a dream. Just now, when they saw the giant bear appear, they even thought that the giant bear could handle it alone. They were just about to take action and take down Lu Ming. But right at this time, a dragon roar suddenly came from this stretch of mountains and rivers. This dragon roar was exceptionally terrifying, shaking until the entire universe started trembling, completely suppressing the other dragon roars. Outside the mountains and rivers, Meng Fu and the rest of the 6th-level Divine Lord Existence's bodies trembled greatly like they were electrocuted, then spewed out a mouthful of blood. 6th-level Divine Lords were directly injured by a dragon roar. 7th-level Divine Lords were still a little better, but their complexions were also pale. Only 8th-level Divine Lords and 9th-level Divine Lords were unaffected. But their expressions also changed drastically, looking in the direction where the dragon roar came from one after another. That was because this dragon roar gave them a lot of pressure. Roar. That terrifying dragon roar continued to emit. The next instant, this stretch of mountains and rivers was shining. Following that, a dragon claw reached out from the mountains and rivers. This dragon claw was pitch black. The dragon scales on it were all clearly visible, but one could still tell that this was not a body of flesh and blood, but a dragon soul. When this dragon claw reached out, it directly clawed over toward the giant bear. The giant bear's expression changed drastically, its huge eyes revealing a hint of astonishment. With a roar, its body became even bigger. A pair of bear paws smacked out continuously, colliding together with the dragon claw. But the next instant, with 2 cracking sounds, the giant bear's bear paws directly broke apart. Chapter 35:17. The Quasi-Emperor Realm giant bear's palms were broken when it tried to block the dragon claw. It was bent 180 degrees and blood was gushing out of it. The giant bear's body was like a giant meteorite as it crashed to the ground. Boom! Gravel flew everywhere, and a giant pit was formed on the ground. The giant bear coughed out blood. Everyone was stunned, and their eyes widened. They could not believe what they had just seen. The giant bear was an invincible Quasi-Emperor Realm existence. How could it be injured so easily? The opponent was only a dragon claw. What kind of existence was that? A divine emperor? It was definitely a real divine emperor. Otherwise, it would not be so strong. There was a dragon soul that had reached the divine emperor realm. It was terrifying. Boom! That dragon claw once again clawed at the giant bear. The attack was incomparably fierce. The giant bear roared and erupted with all its strength, pushing its strength to the limit. The giant bear was a Quasi-Emperor Realm expert. It was definitely strong in all aspects. Its divine origin force had already awakened 4 times, and it had also mastered the secret technique of the origin force. However, it was useless. The giant bear let out a miserable shriek when the dragon claw clawed at it. All of its attacks and defenses collapsed, and it crashed to the ground again. This time, half of its body exploded. It was seriously injured and on the verge of death. Roar! The dragon roared, and the dragon claw continued to claw at the giant bear. Surrender! I am willing to surrender. Please spare my life. The giant bear let out a miserable shriek. It was a Quasi-Emperor Realm expert. Even if it was trapped here, it did not want to die. Once a Quasi-Emperor Realm expert took the last step, he would be able to enter the Divine Emperor Realm. Perhaps he would be able to get out of here after entering the Divine Emperor Realm. Woo! Suddenly, the sound of the horn changed. The dragon claw stopped abruptly above the giant bear's head. Otherwise, the giant bear would have exploded. The giant bear heaved a sigh of relief. It almost peed in its pants. What about you guys? Lu Ming looked at the rest of the people. Those people's facial expression changed drastically. I am willing to surrender. I am also willing to surrender. The other experts also cried out one after another. What a joke. That dragon claw was too terrifying. There were other dragon souls as well. If they did not surrender, they would all die. Swear. Swear that you will surrender and not attack us. Lu Ming said coldly. The reason why he didn't continue to let the dragon soul kill these people was because he wanted to get information about Autumn Moon from these people. Secondly, the strength of these people was extremely shocking. If he could get out later, he would be able to borrow the strength of these people. The chances of him overturning Jing Yu's case would be much higher. That was why he spared the other party's life. I swear on my life essence that I will never attack you again. The giant bear was the first to cry out. I swear as well. Following that, the others also swore that they would never lay a hand on Lu Ming and the others. In the end, Lu Ming looked outside the mountains. Plop Python Fu's face turned pale and his body went soft. He actually knelt down and cried out, Young master, please spare me. This lowly one had eyes but failed to see. Young master, please spare me. Python Fu was almost scared to death. Lu Ming's miraculous abilities were far beyond his imagination. He had already been trapped in this place for over a star year. He didn't even know that the dragon statues here could move, and that each of these mountains could summon a dragon soul that was shockingly strong. Now, in his eyes, Lu Ming was simply a primordial dragon that had come back to life. This time, I'll spare your lives, Lu Ming said coldly. Many thanks, young master. Python Fu was overjoyed and repeatedly kowtowed. The other 7th level and 6th level divine sovereigns also expressed their thanks. At this moment, with a thought, Lu Ming put away the primordial divine dragon horn. Once he put away the primordial divine dragon horn, the giant dragon claw also retracted. The other dragon souls also flew towards those mountains, rushed into those mountains, and disappeared. Whoosh! Only then did all the experts present let out a long sigh of relief. Their gazes toward Lu Ming were filled with dread. Young master, how should I address you? A round-faced old man who looked rather amiable flew over and said with a smile, Lu Ming. Lu Ming replied, So it's young master Lu. This old man is Zhu Tai. Zhu Tai cupped his fists and continued, May I know how young master Lu came to the Lost Star River? Are you also looking for the divine dragon race's treasure? The divine dragon race's treasure? Lu Ming was flabbergasted. He then shook his head, saying, No, I'm here to find someone. Everyone, has anyone seen this girl before? After saying that, Lu Ming took out a portrait from his interspatial ring. The portrait was of the mid-autumn moon. It's her. When Lu Ming opened the portrait, almost everyone was taken aback and exclaimed one after another, You've all seen her before? Lu Ming was overjoyed. Looking at these people's expressions, he knew that they had definitely seen the mid-autumn moon. Yes, I've seen her before. Over 100 years ago, this girl came here. Everyone spoke. Then where is she now? Lu Ming asked joyfully. She left. She left over 100 years ago. Everyone spoke. What do you mean she left? Are you kidding me? Lu Ming was shocked. Then his face turned gloomy. Once one entered the Lost Star River, they couldn't leave. There were so many powerful existences here, but none of them left. How could the mid-autumn moon leave? It's true, we're not lying to you. At this moment, the giant bear walked over. He recovered for a while, and the half of his body that was broken had recovered, but his aura was still weak. That girl went to an ancient passage and left this place. The giant bear said, If the ancient passage left this place, then why didn't you leave? Lu Ming said coldly, still in disbelief, Young Master Lu, what we said is true. If you want to explain, you can only start from the origin of the Lost Star River. The giant bear said. Lu Ming did not say anything and listened quietly. It is said that this Lost Star River is a base of the Divine Dragon Clan. It's a branch of the Divine Dragon Clan, the place where the six-clawed black dragon lived. However, later on, some top clans joined forces to attack the Divine Dragon Clan. The six-clawed black dragon clan went to the mother planet of the Divine Dragon Clan to rescue them. I believe young Master Lu already knows what happened after that. The Divine Dragon Clan was almost wiped out, and the six-clawed black dragon clan never returned. Even the powerful existences followed the tracks and killed all the six-clawed black dragons here. However, there are legends that the powerful existences didn't fancy the treasures of the six-clawed black dragon clan and left them behind. Therefore, many people crossed the Endless Star River to come here to search for treasures, but ended up being trapped here. However, this place has an ancient passage in the starry sky. a teleportation formation that can lead to the outside world. However, it was sealed, and we couldn't open it no matter how hard we tried. Until more than 100 years ago, the girl you mentioned actually opened the teleportation formation and left this place. The giant bear explained in detail. Chapter 35:18. Since the teleportation platform has been activated, why didn't you leave? Lu Ming asked again. That's because the teleportation platform has been destroyed. The moment that girl teleported away, it self-destructed. Perhaps she used the wrong method to activate it. The giant bear sighed. Where is the teleportation platform? Bring me there. Lu Ming said. It's in the depths of this mountain. Please. The giant bear waved his hand, and everyone brought Lu Ming to the depths of the mountain. Sure enough, there was a huge formation platform here. It was really huge, with a radius of several thousand li. However, many places had exploded, and many people's runes had been destroyed. Lu Ming closed his eyes and spread out his spiritual sense. After a while, Lu Ming suddenly opened his eyes. It was Autumn Moon's aura. That's right, he sensed Autumn Moon's aura. There was no mistake. The giant bear was right. Autumn Moon must have been here. Even though more than 100 years had passed, there was still a remnant of Autumn Moon's aura. Although it was very faint, ordinary people wouldn't be able to sense it. However, Lu Ming was too familiar with Autumn Moon. Even if it was very faint, he could still sense it. Can this teleportation platform not be repaired? Lu Ming asked the giant bear and the others. It can't be repaired. At least with our level, it's hard to repair. The giant bear and the others shook their heads. Senior Bone Devil, do you have a way to repair it? Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Bone Devil. No. Bone Devil's answer was very simple. He then said, this teleportation platform is very ingenious. It's unique to the Divine Dragon Clan. Only the Divine Dragon Clan can teleport. Other people can't teleport at all. And that girl, Autumn Moon, received the inheritance of the Divine Eye Lord of Heaven. She might have mastered some unique techniques and forcibly activated this teleportation platform. Although she was teleported out, the platform was also destroyed. It's hard to repair it. It can't be repaired? Lu Ming was disappointed. It wasn't easy for him to find this place and find the whereabouts of Autumn Moon. Unfortunately, Autumn Moon had already left. Everyone, do you know where this teleportation platform leads to? Lu Ming asked the giant bear and the others. It's hard to say. It might lead to a secret base of the Divine Dragon Clan. But most likely, it leads to the mother planet of the Dragon Clan. The giant bear said, the mother planet of the Dragon Clan? Lu Ming was puzzled. The mother planet of the dragon race is still around. Yes. The giant bear said, the primitive universe is boundless. Not all planets are the same. Some planets are very special. For example, some of the top races on the list of 10,000 primitive tribes all have their own home planets. Their home planets are not only huge, but also very special and difficult to destroy. Not to mention divine emperors. Even divine emperors or stronger existences can't destroy them. I see. Lu Ming nodded. The mother planet of the Dragon Clan? It seemed that he would have to make a trip there in the future. Of course, that was under the premise that he could get out. By the way, why did you attack me before? Lu Ming asked again. Because you've cultivated the primordial divine dragon body. The Lost Star River is a base of the Dragon Clan. Since you've cultivated the primordial divine dragon body, you might be able to find a way out. That's why we attacked you. Zhu Tai smiled awkwardly. However, we didn't expect you to be able to summon the dragon soul here. Then, our chances of getting out will be greater. The dragon soul here is an undying battle soul left behind by a six-clawed black dragon that fell countless years ago. It probably still has its instincts. If you can control the dragon soul to lead the way, we might really be able to get out. The giant bear added. The others' eyes were already glowing. They came from different forces in the universe. They wanted to find the treasure of the six-clawed black dragon, but they didn't find it. Instead, they were trapped here. They really wanted to get out. Otherwise, they would die of old age here. Control the dragon soul to lead the way. Lu Ming's eyes also lit up. He also didn't want to be trapped here. This was a good idea. All right. Next, I'll study how to make the dragon soul lead the way. By the way, the Lost Star River, is it just you guys? Lu Ming asked. Not only that, there are some in other places, but there aren't many. After all, those who can cross the universe to come here are all people with high cultivation. Those with low cultivation don't dare to come here. The weakest among them is a fifth-layer divine monarch. Zhu Tai explained. And Lu Ming nodded and said, All right, I'm going to study it. Don't disturb me. All right. We definitely won't disturb you. If anyone disturbs you, I'll slap them to death. The giant bear was overjoyed and almost bowed. Its eyes swept around, revealing a ferocious glint. The others naturally nodded repeatedly. How could they possibly disturb Lu Ming? Lu Ming immediately sat down at the peak of a mountain and took out some divine crystals to absorb. After a period of time, Lu Ming's condition recovered to his peak. Then, he summoned the primordial divine dragon horn and blew it. After several breaths of time, the mountain below him began to shine. Then a dragon soul flew out. Lu Ming tried to use the horn to control the dragon soul. Unfortunately, he could only barely control the dragon soul to attack or stop. This seemed to be the dragon soul's instinct. As for controlling the dragon soul to do other things, he couldn't do it. I can't do it. The horn has all kinds of different tones. I just haven't figured out how to use it. If I can figure it out, it should be possible. Lu Ming pondered. Then he changed the way he blew and continued to study it. In the distance, the giant bear, Zhu Tai, and the others were eagerly watching. Don't worry. Lu Ming's core secret art is very strange. A horn that can summon a divine dragon is something I've never heard of before. It's so mysterious. It should be possible to control. We just have to wait patiently. The giant bear comforted them. In truth, he was also incomparably anxious. In the following time, Lu Ming carefully studied how to use the ancient divine dragon horn. Since Autumn Moon had already left, he had to find a way to leave the Lost Star River and return to the Taishu dynasty. He had to deal with Jing Yu's matter as quickly as possible. Then he would go find Autumn Moon and Xian Yanqing. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had been studying it for half a year. After half a year, he found that the ancient divine dragon horn was extremely mysterious and unpredictable. When blowing the horn, he needed to pour in divine energy. Depending on the amount of divine energy poured in, the horn sound would also be different. Naturally, the control of the dragon soul would also be different. After half a year of trial and error, Lu Ming finally succeeded in his research. He was able to control a dragon soul and fly around with it. If I can bring all these dragon souls out, just how strong would I be? Lu Ming's heart was burning. Chapter 35:19. Lu Ming was really tempted. The combat power of these dragon souls was too strong, especially the most powerful dragon soul. It was highly likely to be at the Divine Emperor realm. If he could bring it out, he would be able to defeat the entire Taishu sacred court. However, Guamo immediately poured a bucket of cold water on him. Don't think too much. It's impossible to bring it out. It's already very good that the dragon souls could bring you to the border of the lost galaxy. The reason why they could survive is because this is the base of the six-clawed divine dragon. Once they leave the lost galaxy, they will soon dissipate and completely disappear in the universe. Guamo said. Lu Ming suddenly became like a frosted eggplant. Then let's go. Lu Ming smiled, then got up and stepped out. Yuan Song followed behind Lu Ming. Young Master Lu Ming, did you succeed in your research? Zhu Tai immediately came up to him with a face full of smiles. During this period of time, there were even more people outside the mountains. In total, there were more than 100 people. People from other places on this planet had gathered, waiting for the results of Lu Ming's research. At this moment, everyone was looking at Lu Ming eagerly. It's a success, Lu Ming said. All of a sudden, everyone's eyes lit up. Their eyes were shining brightly. If it's a success, they would be able to go out. They were so excited that their bodies trembled. They were really too excited. They had waited for so many years, and finally, they saw hope. However, Lu Ming sneered and said, "But why should I bring you out?" Everyone was stunned. Then, They looked at each other. Yes, why should Lu Ming bring them out? Young Master Lu Ming, please, bring us out. If you have any requests, just say it. Zhu Tai said with a trembling body. Yes, young Master Lu Ming, if you have any requests, just say it. We will definitely fulfill them. We will die 1,000 times. Everyone spoke one after another, wishing that they could dig out their hearts and show it to Lu Ming. If you want me to bring you out, you have to promise me one thing. Lu Ming said. Young Master Lu Ming, just say it. Not bad, not bad. Everyone said one after another. I encountered some difficulties outside. Have you heard of the Taishu dynasty? Following which, Lu Ming briefly explained what he was going to do in the Taishu sacred court. You just have to promise me that you'll stay by my side for the time being. Once I'm done with the Taishu dynasty and overturn the verdict for Prince Jingyu, you can leave. How about it? Lu Ming said. Honestly speaking, this was a terrifying force, because the weakest was a 5th-level divine lord. If he were to bring her out, she would definitely be able to turn the world upside down and become a powerful helper for him. He didn't want to miss such a good opportunity. The strongest person in the Taishu dynasty is a quasi-emperor. It's only a sub-universe level power. That's easy. I agree. I agree as well. Immediately, everyone agreed. The strongest person in the Taishu dynasty was only a quasi-emperor. Although this kind of power was also called a universe-level power, in fact, it could only be considered a sub-universe level power. True universe-level powers all had godly emperors in charge. It wasn't difficult for sub-universe level powers without godly emperors to do so. Moreover, they had been in the Lost Galaxy for so long, they didn't mind staying by Lu Ming's side for a while longer. Immediately, these people swore on their life origin that after leaving, they would stay by Lu Ming's side until they helped Lu Ming complete his mission in the Taishu dynasty. All right, let's go then. Lu Ming smiled, then condensed the immemorial divine dragon horn and blew it. Soon, a dragon soul flew out. Lu Ming didn't plan to summon a few dragon souls. One was enough. Moreover, a dragon soul was easier to control and could go further. Woo-woo, the ancient horn sounded. Lu Ming stood on the dragon soul's head. The dragon soul let out a dragon roar and flew into the distance. The others followed behind the dragon soul. The dragon soul flew completely according to its instincts. It flew left and right, forward and backward, up and down without any pattern. If others were to look for it, they wouldn't be able to find it. Their speed wasn't fast. Just like this, they flew for over a month. Suddenly, the dragon soul stopped. We're here. Lu Ming glanced around. He had a feeling that as long as they flew forward a bit more, they would arrive and be able to leave. Everyone, if we continue flying forward, we should be able to leave. Lu Ming said. Let me try. Someone couldn't hold back and excitedly said, then rushed out. Before they could fly out 100 miles, the space in front of them suddenly rippled like water. Then that person directly disappeared. Many people's eyes lit up. Disappearing meant that they had left. Everyone, let's go. Lu Ming smiled, then stepped down from the dragon soul's head. Roar. The dragon soul let out a dragon roar, then turned around and flew back, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Unfortunately, I can't bring them out. Lu Ming sighed. However, he was already very satisfied with being able to bring out Zhu Xiong, Zhu Tai, and the others. Swish. Swish. Lu Ming flew forward. He seemed to have passed through a thin film. In a flash, he discovered that he had already appeared in another universe in the starry sky. Looking back, he saw a huge galaxy in the distance, emitting starlight and slowly rotating. This was the Lost Galaxy. They had come out. Ha ha ha, I really came out, I really came out. The heavens didn't forsake me. Ha ha ha. Lu Ming was surrounded by Zhu Xiong, Zhu Tai, and the others. These people looked up to the sky and laughed excitedly. They had been trapped for so many years. Now that they were out, it was hard not to be excited. After a while, everyone finally calmed down. Young Master Lu Ming, thank you. Everyone bowed and cupped their fists to Lu Ming. They were very grateful in their hearts. No need to thank me. We're just exchanging conditions. Let's go. Follow me to my station. But first, conceal your aura. Don't expose your cultivation. Lu Ming said. For the time being, these people couldn't be exposed. Otherwise, some people would be on guard. This power could only be effective if it caught people off guard. Then, they went to the hidden dragon star of the heavenly chaos starfield. On the way, they encountered a group of barbarians. They wanted to stop them, but they were easily dealt with. After a while, Lu Ming and the others returned to the hidden dragon star. Yuan Huan and the others were naturally happy to see Lu Ming return. However, when Yuan Huan learned about the cultivation bases of the people Lu Ming had brought with him, he was dumbfounded. He was so agitated that he trembled. In his eyes, Lu Ming was a man of great fortune. Not only was he fine after entering the Lost Galaxy, but he had also brought out a group of terrifying experts. If this wasn't great fortune, then what was? However, when Yuan Huan regained his composure, he said something shocking. Chapter 35:20. Yuan Huan revealed a shocking piece of news. 3 months ago, the barbarian emperor had fallen. What? Lu Ming's eyes widened in disbelief. The barbarian emperor had fallen. During the Great Void Sacred Emperor's birthday banquet, the barbarian emperor had fought with the Great Void Sacred Emperor. That kind of strength was earth-shattering. Lu Ming remembered it clearly. The barbarian emperor was a boundary emperor, but he was much younger than the Great Void Sacred Emperor. How could he have fallen so suddenly? Lu Ming asked the question in his heart. It was said that the barbarian emperor had offended an expert from the Wu people and was assassinated by the Wu people. His head and heart were taken away. Yuan Huan said, "An expert from the Wu people." Lu Ming's eyes flashed. During the Taishu dynasty's birthday banquet, an expert from the Wu people had appeared and attacked them with soul power. His methods were strange and unpredictable. If Blue Merchant had not blocked it, many of them would have been in danger. The Wu people were a true universe-level force and a member of the primitive 10,000 tribe list. They were extremely powerful and far beyond the barbarian tribe. Nobody knew how the barbarian emperor had offended an expert from the Wu people and was killed. Cooperating with such a terrifying race was like asking a tiger for its skin. If they were not careful, they would be devoured. Battle Ancestor, Etion had sent a message saying that the barbarian tribe was in chaos. A few princes were fighting for the throne. He wanted to secretly help one of the princes become the barbarian emperor. That way, he would be able to control more barbarian tribe forces for us to use. Yuan Huan said, "That's a good idea. Send a message to Etion and tell him that I'll bring people to help him." Lu Ming said. After some time, Etion replied and said that there was no need. After all, the battle between the barbarian princes was very dangerous. It involved 8th level and 9th level divine lords, and even quasi-emperors. It was very dangerous. Etion is looking down on me. Lu Ming smiled. Obviously, Etion felt that the strongest person on Lu Ming's side was Yuan Huan. Even if he went, he wouldn't be of much help. Instead, it would put Lu Ming in danger. Tell Etion that I have a way to help him. This time, I will definitely go, Lu Ming said. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If he cooperated with Etion, he could push a barbarian prince he could control to the throne of the barbarian emperor. In the future, he would be able to borrow the power of the barbarian tribe. He felt that the Taishu dynasty was no longer peaceful. As the Taishu Saint Emperor neared the end of his lifespan, the various forces of the Taishu dynasty began to stir. Once the Taishu Saint Emperor died, there would be chaos. And if he wanted to reverse the verdict for Jingyu, the more power he had, the better. In the end, Etion gave in to Lu Ming and agreed to let Lu Ming go. Not long after, Etion brought Lu Ming to the barbarian tribe's territory through secret means. This time, Lu Ming brought 30 experts over. All of them were brought out from the Lost Galaxy. Giant Bear, the Boundary Emperor, naturally had to follow. In addition, there were a total of 5 9th-level Divine Monarchs. Zhu Tai was one of them. The rest were 8th-level Divine Monarchs. This was a terrifying force. They were covered in black robes to prevent the barbarian tribe from recognizing that they weren't from the barbarian tribe. Lan Shu. As soon as he arrived at Etion's battleship, Lu Ming saw Blue Merchant and was very excited. Blue Merchant also smiled. During this time, Blue Merchant had been staying with Etion. Lu Ming, why did you insist on coming? This time, The barbarian princes will fight for the throne. There will be a terrifying battle. It will be very dangerous. Etion sighed. This is a good opportunity for us to control the barbarian tribe. Of course, I have to help you. These are the helpers I brought. Lu Ming smiled and then pointed to Giant Bear and the others behind him. They were. Only then did Lanshang and Etion take a closer look at Giant Bear and the others. With one look, their pupils suddenly shrank, revealing a horrified expression. Blue Merchant was a 9th-level divine monarch when he was at his peak. His strongest part was his soul. Now, his soul power was even stronger than when he was at his peak. As for Etion, he was even stronger. He was the leader of the 3 generals under Jing Yu, and his cultivation had reached the Boundary Emperor realm. Thus, the 2 of them had extremely powerful sensing abilities. As soon as they sensed, they found that the people brought by Lu Ming all had strong and vigorous auras. Their vitality was as exuberant as a volcano. Experts, all of them were experts. In an instant, they judged that these people were at least 8th-level divine monarchs. Especially Giant Bear. He stood there like a star that would explode at any time. It was extremely terrifying. Boom. Etion involuntarily burst out with an aura that pressed towards Giant Bear. At the same time, Giant Bear instinctively burst out with an aura that collided with Etion's aura. Boom. In the middle of the collision of the 2 auras, the space was directly torn apart, creating a dark space. However, both of them controlled their auras very well. The energy did not overflow. Both of them retracted their auras as soon as they appeared and did not cause a big shock. Boundary Emperor! Etion exclaimed in shock. Blue Merchant was not much better. Lu Ming was not only accompanied by a large group of top experts, but also a Boundary Emperor. This was a Boundary Emperor who was already at the peak of forces like the Barbarian Tribe, Taishu Dynasty, and Tianyi Sacred Dynasty. There were not many such figures in the entire Taishu Dynasty. Apart from some hidden foundations, there were only a few Boundary Emperors on the surface. A quasi-emperor could play a decisive role in a battle. They finally understood that Lu Ming had to come. He only came because he had the confidence to do so. Good. Lu Ming, with them joining us, our chances of success will be greatly increased. Etion was overjoyed. Etion, what's your plan? Also, what's the current situation of the Barbarian Tribe? Lu Ming asked. The Barbarian Tribe was different from the Taishu Dynasty. The Barbarian Emperor was in his prime, so he did not appoint a crown prince. There was also no prince who could suppress everyone. Therefore, when the Barbarian Emperor suddenly fell, the competition among the princes was very intense. Among them, 3 princes were the most powerful. They were the eldest prince, the 2nd prince, and the 5th prince. This was because these 3 princes each had the support of a Boundary Emperor. Etion explained. Then which prince should we support? Lu Ming asked. Not any of the 3 princes, because these 3 princes are all very ambitious and talented. If we push them to the throne, we won't be able to control it. We need to support the 8th prince. He is relatively weak and not very talented. He is easy to control. Etion said. Are you confident? Lu Ming asked. At first, I was not very confident. However, with your arrival, I am 100% confident. Etion laughed. Chapter 35:21. Including me, there are a total of 5 Boundary Emperors in the Barbarian Tribe. The 3 strongest princes have the support of a Boundary Emperor each. The remaining 2 will remain neutral for the time being. Etion continued. Which 2? Lu Ming asked. One is me and the other is the Lord of Sky Barbarian. Hence, the 3 princes are desperately trying to rope us in. As long as one of us is successfully roped in, the situation will be completely reversed. The 3 princes have sought me out more than 3 times, but I did not agree. Etion said. What should we do next? It's simple. The Lord of Sky Barbarian has been hesitating on which prince to support. As I have not expressed my opinion, he is not sure which prince he will support. This guy is very cautious. He will only choose if he has full confidence. What we need to do now is to find the Lord of Sky Barbarian and let him know our strength. He will then choose our side. As for me, I will deliberately join the eldest prince's side. Then, we will be able to determine the outcome. Etion said, "All right, let's do that." Lu Ming nodded and exclaimed in his heart. Etion was indeed the leader of the 3 generals under Jingyu. He was meticulous and his plan was flawless. After a while, they set off for the residence of the Lord of Sky Barbarian. In the south of the barbarian tribe territory, a huge mountain was suspended in the starry sky. This mountain was incredibly huge, and it was not smaller than a planet. Countless berserkers lived on the mountain, and there were as many powerful warriors as there were clouds in the sky. This was the residence of the Lord of Sky Barbarian. At the highest point of the mountain was an incredibly tall and sturdy middle-aged berserker. He was sitting cross-legged and training, and as he did so, banging sounds came from his body. Space itself was trembling like a drum, and it was an incredibly terrifying sight. "Lord of Sky Barbarian, Void Annihilation Marshal wants to see you." At this time, a burly barbarian came to report. "Etion came to see me. He probably wanted to find out which prince I supported. This guy is very smart. Let him in." The Lord of Sky Barbarian smiled. Soon, Etion flew in with Lu Ming, Giant Bear, Zhu Tai, and the others. However, Lu Ming only brought Giant Bear and 5 rank 9 Divine Lord experts. He did not bring the others. "Etion, why did you come to my heavenly barbarian mountain instead of staying in the Void Extermination Stage army?" The Sky Barbarian Lord smiled casually. A straightforward person does not resort to insinuations. Now that the Emperor of Berserkers has fallen, several princes are fighting for the position of the Emperor of Berserkers. It is impossible for us to remain completely neutral. We have to choose a prince to support. Etion went straight to the point. "What you said makes sense. What about you? Which prince do you plan to support?" The Sky Barbarian Lord smiled. He asked about Etion's choice first. He was smart. "I won't hide it either. I've already sided with the 8th prince and supported him to become the Emperor of Berserkers." Etion said. "What?" This time, the Sky Barbarian Lord was taken aback. He was furious. "Dao Etion, do you think I'm stupid? Do you think you can trick me with a lie?" He thought Etion was tricking him into choosing the 8th prince. He did not believe it at all. Not to mention the 8th prince's talent, there was almost no one who supported the 8th prince. If he chose the 8th prince, how could he compete with the other 3 princes? In the end, he would definitely lose. It was better to choose the other princes than the 8th prince. Hence, he thought Etion was lying. "Are you looking at me like I'm lying? If you don't believe me, I can swear on my life origin," Etion said with a serious face. Looking at Etion's expression, the Sky Barbarian Lord could not help but believe him. However, he frowned. "Why? I want to know why. Why did you choose the 8th prince? If you chose the other princes, wouldn't you be more confident?" The Sky Barbarian Lord said. "I don't like the other 3 princes." "All right, Sky Barbarian, I'm here to cooperate with you. Let's support the 8th prince to become the Emperor of Berserkers." "How about that?" Etion said. "Support the 8th prince?" The Sky Barbarian Lord smiled faintly. "Etion, why should I choose the 8th prince? You should also know that the other 3 princes have already looked for me many times. As for the 8th prince, he is alone and weak. Even if he has the support of the 2 of us, he still doesn't have full confidence in winning. If I support the other princes, I will have a better chance. What if we join in?" At this moment, Lu Ming spoke. "You? What are you?" The Sky Barbarian Lord sneered and looked at Lu Ming and the rest with disdain. Before this, he had not looked at Lu Ming and the rest. In his opinion, Lu Ming and the rest were just Etion's subordinates. They were not qualified for him to look at. But at this moment, when he glanced over, he swallowed the words he was about to say, and his pupils shrank. Lu Ming was naturally ignored by him. The main reason was that the people behind Lu Ming were too shocking. The Sky Barbarian Lord could tell at a glance that there were 5 9th-level Divine Lords. The most shocking one was Zhu Xiong. He had a strong aura and was at the same level as the Sky Barbarian Lord. The disdain on his face disappeared. He quickly cupped his fists and said, "Sorry for the disrespect. Now we're qualified." Lu Ming continued. The Sky Barbarian Lord was displeased. He was talking to Zhu Xiong and the rest. How could Lu Ming, a supreme being, interrupt? Don't you understand that the juniors should not interrupt when the seniors are talking? The Sky Barbarian Lord looked at Lu Ming unhappily. Boom! As soon as the Sky Barbarian Lord finished speaking, Zhu Xiong took a step forward and a powerful aura fell on the Sky Barbarian Lord. He said coldly, "His words are our words. His words are our words. Do you understand?" What? This time, the Sky Barbarian Lord was even more shocked. It turned out that so many powerful figures were actually obeying Lu Ming's orders. 1 Boundary Emperor and 5 9th-level Divine Lords listened to Lu Ming. What was Lu Ming's background? It must be shocking. He knew that he had completely underestimated Lu Ming. The Sky Barbarian Lord thought quickly. How about it, Sky Barbarian? With our strength and yours, we have a 99% chance of winning if we support the 8th Prince. Etion said with a smile. The Sky Barbarian Lord's eyes flickered as he pondered. After a while, he said, "Okay, I agree to work with you to support the 8th Prince." He finally made a decision. Etion and Lu Ming already had 2 Boundary Emperors. In addition to the 5 9th-level Divine Lords behind Lu Ming and Etion's Void Annihilation Army, their strength was shocking. Even if he chose another prince to join them, they might not win. After all, if he chose one prince, there were still 2 other princes and the 8th prince. The situation was extremely complicated, and they had no chance of winning. However, if he chose the 8th prince, they would have a much higher chance of winning. Chapter 35-22. The Lord of Sky Barbarian agreed to support the 8th prince. Next, they discussed the details. Etion and Lu Ming took their leave. Etion, does the barbarian tribe really only have 5 Boundary Emperors? They should have some hidden power, right? Lu Ming asked Etion on the way. That's right. The barbarian tribe naturally has hidden power and a few hidden Boundary Emperors. Etion said. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. If that's the case, if the other princes get help from these people, won't we lose? No. Etion laughed. The barbarian tribe was very different from the Taishu dynasty. The hidden experts of the barbarian tribe would not intervene in the fight between the princes. They only took orders from the barbarian emperor. They would only take action when the barbarian tribe was in danger. Therefore, even if the princes fought to the death, they would not intervene. They would only appear and serve the new barbarian emperor when one of the princes sat on the throne. I see. Lu Ming nodded. Soon after, they returned to the Void Destroyer army and went to meet the 8th prince. The 8th prince was pleasantly surprised to know that there were so many experts. A few days later, the 1st prince sent someone to invite Etion to support the 1st prince. This time, Etion agreed directly. Of course, he agreed on purpose. This was also part of their plan. Etion deliberately sided with the 1st prince to deal with the other 2 princes, and then the 1st prince. Everything was ready. They just had to wait for 2 months. 2 months was half a year after the barbarian emperor's death. According to the barbarian tribe's rules, a new barbarian emperor could be elected half a year after the barbarian emperor's death. At that time, most of the senior figures of the barbarian tribe would gather. Victory and defeat would be decided at that time. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. That day was a major event for the barbarian tribe. Countless experts and senior figures gathered at the holy capital of the barbarian tribe. They knew that the new barbarian emperor was about to be born. Lu Ming, Etion, the 8th prince, the Lord of Sky Barbarian, and the others also came to the holy capital of the barbarian tribe. In front of the barbarian race's holy capital, there was a huge square where countless barbarians were gathered. Lu Ming and the others sat in a corner and waited quietly, keeping a low profile. The 5th prince had arrived. Someone exclaimed softly. From the right, a large group of people stepped through the air, and a terrifying pressure surged over from that direction. An expert. They were all experts. There were too many experts in this group. The leader was a berserker who looked to be in his 30s. This person was the 5th prince of the berserker race. Following closely beside him was an old man. The aura that this old man emitted was exceptionally terrifying. Quasi-emperor. Lu Ming immediately determined that this old man was a quasi-emperor. 5th brother. What an imposing manner. Are you trying to show us who's boss? A sneer was heard as a group of people flew over from another direction. The auras of this group of people were equally terrifying. When they clashed with the auras of the fifth prince's group, intense explosions rang out in the sky. The second prince. Someone whispered, "All right, sit down. How can you be so hostile when you just arrived?" A cold shout came from the north. There was also a group of people who stepped through the air. The leader was a burly middle-aged man. Everyone recognized that he was the first prince. Hee. The second prince and the fifth prince both sneered and looked displeased. They were displeased that the first prince was reprimanding them. "Brother, you haven't become the barbarian emperor yet. Don't talk to us in such a tone." The second prince said unhappily and led his people to sit down in an area. The fifth prince also led his people to sit down. The first prince snorted coldly, and a strong murderous intent flashed in the depths of his eyes. Then, he led his people to the northern area and sat down. "All right, almost everyone is here today. Now, let's start discussing the important matters." The first prince stood up and spoke first. The scene suddenly became so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Everyone knew that the main event was about to begin. Father was ambushed by the Wu people and died. Now, the barbarian tribe is without a ruler. However, a country can't be without a ruler for a day. Now, half a year has passed. It's time to elect a new barbarian emperor. The first prince's voice echoed throughout the hall. Hee. Then who do you think is more suitable to be the barbarian emperor? The second prince asked with a cold smile. Since second brother asked, I'll get straight to the point. Since ancient times, there has been an order of seniority. Father has died, so naturally, I, the eldest son, will inherit the barbarian emperor's throne. The first prince said, "Ha ha ha ha." As soon as the first prince finished speaking, the second prince laughed disdainfully. "Second brother, what are you laughing at?" The first prince asked with a gloomy expression. "What era is it now? Why is there still an order of seniority?" In my opinion, the barbarian emperor's throne is very important. We must choose a prince with the highest talent, the strongest strength, and the best future. Only then will the barbarian tribe have a future and become more prosperous. The second prince said loudly. Among the princes, in terms of talent and cultivation, the second prince was indeed the best. He was slightly stronger than the first prince and the fifth prince. What a joke. The barbarian emperor is the ruler of the tribe. What's the use of having a slightly stronger cultivation? The first prince said, "You're saying that you're very convincing?" The second prince retorted, "Of course." The first prince said confidently, "Second brother, you don't have to disagree with me. I now announce that I will inherit the barbarian emperor's throne. Who has any objections?" "I have objections," the second prince shouted as soon as the first prince finished speaking. "How dare you?" The first prince shouted coldly with a gloomy expression. "Second brother, I'm the eldest. You're offending me. Since that's the case, I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of father." With that, the first prince waved his hand. Boom! A middle-aged barbarian stepped out from behind the first prince. A violent aura burst out from him, causing heaven and earth to shake violently. The middle-aged man was a quasi-emperor stage cultivator. The aura of a quasi-emperor covered the sky and pressed down on the second prince. However, another quasi-emperor stepped out from behind the second prince. A terrifying aura spread out. The two terrifying auras collided, causing heaven and earth to explode. Some of the weaker cultivators were so scared that their organs trembled, and they were almost scared to death. A battle between quasi-emperors was too terrifying. "Teach me a lesson on behalf of father? Do you have the right to do that?" The second prince sneered. "You don't know what's good for you." The first prince shouted coldly. Boom! In an instant, the two quasi-emperors exchanged blows. They shot up into the sky, entered the starry sky, and exchanged blows. Boom! Heaven and earth shook violently. The starry sky in the distance trembled non-stop. A large number of stars were trembling. The barbarian tribe's holy capital was similar to the great illusionary Saint Capital. It was covered with a large array. At this moment, it was shining brightly. Chapter 35-23. Boom, boom, boom. The two quasi-emperors fought fiercely, and it was hard to determine the winner. You have a quasi-emperor. So do I. You have the support of a 9th-level divine lord. So do I. What makes you the barbaric emperor? I should be the barbaric emperor. Now, let's fight it out. The second prince sneered and stepped out. He wanted to fight the first prince. Throughout this process, the fifth prince remained seated and did not utter a word. His eyes were filled with surprise. He really didn't expect that the first prince and the second prince would actually start fighting. This was great news for him. If the first prince and the second prince were both seriously injured, he would be able to reap the benefits without doing anything. He would be a fool to speak at this time. The first prince and the second prince were confronting each other, and their subordinates were also confronting each other. There was no lack of 9th-level divine lords among them. However, they did not make a move. Instead, they watched the battle in the starry sky. Quasi-emperors were much stronger than ordinary 9th-level divine lords. Once the quasi-emperors were defeated, it would directly affect the balance of the battle. In the blink of an eye, the two had exchanged more than 100 moves. The battle was extremely intense. The two quasi-emperors also used their full strength. This was also related to their future. At this time, the first prince looked at Etion and secretly gave him a look. He dared to make a move because of Etion. Etion had already surrendered to him, but he did not expose himself. He wanted to determine the winner at the critical moment. And now was the critical moment. Seeing the first prince's look, Etion naturally understood. Then, with a swoosh, he soared into the sky and rushed into the battle between the two quasi-emperors. Etion's sudden attack was too unexpected. It was beyond the expectations of many, including the quasi-emperor who supported the second prince. He did not expect Etion to suddenly make a move. Of course, the quasi-emperor who supported the first prince naturally knew. At this moment, he used his strongest move to attack his opponent. The quasi-emperor who supported the second prince shouted angrily. He could only block the attack, but Etion had already arrived. Boom! Etion threw a punch. The quasi-emperor who supported the second prince could not block it, and was directly hit in the chest. The full power attack of a quasi-emperor was extremely terrifying. The quasi-emperor supporting the second prince screamed as his body was sent flying, crashing into a huge planet. That planet was directly pierced through before crashing into another planet. A large hole had been blasted open in his chest. His bones had been shattered. With just this move, the other party was already severely injured. The first prince's quasi-emperor seized the opportunity and chased after him, launching another thunderous attack. Puff! The second prince's quasi-emperor screamed miserably. Half of his body exploded, and he almost died. Although he was not dead, his aura was weak and he no longer had the strength to fight. His head was grabbed by the quasi-emperor of the first prince, and his life was in his hands. The scene fell into a deathly silence. Everything happened too quickly. From Etion's attack to the second prince's quasi-emperor being severely injured, it only took an instant. Don't kill him. The first prince's voice spread far and wide. That was a quasi-emperor. It would be a pity to kill him as long as he was severely injured. He was the one who wanted to become the barbarian emperor. If he killed all of them, he would have no subordinates he could use. What was the point of being the barbarian emperor then? Impossible, impossible. At that moment, the second prince came to his senses. His face was pale and he kept shaking his head, unable to accept what had happened. It was over. He knew that he was done for. The quasi-emperor had been defeated. He was finished. Moreover, Etion had also sided with the first prince. He was no longer qualified to fight back. Beside him, the fifth prince's face was also pale. How could this be? This scene was completely out of his expectations. Weren't Etion and the Lord of Sky Barbarian neutral? Why did Etion suddenly side with the first prince? Initially, he was very happy to see the battle between the first prince and the second prince. He thought that he could reap the benefits without doing anything. He did not expect the second prince to be defeated in the blink of an eye. At that moment, the fifth prince was filled with regret. If he had known earlier, he would have joined forces with the second prince. Swoosh! The first prince's quasi-emperor appeared in front of the fifth prince. Second brother, kill yourself. You have already lost. The first prince said coldly. If he lost, he would die. No, impossible. The second prince roared and looked at the fifth prince. Fifth brother, we might be able to defeat him if we join forces. Otherwise, we will die. You are courting death. Kill. The first prince shouted, not giving the fifth prince time to react. Boom, boom. Etion and the first prince's quasi-emperor charged towards the second prince. The terrifying aura made the second prince's face turn pale and his body tremble. There were many experts beside the second prince. There were 9th and 8th level divine lords. However, at that moment, their eyes flickered. For a moment, no one stepped forward. They were not enough to face 2 quasi-emperors. While they were stunned, the second prince was already in Etion's hands. Let me go, big brother. Spare me. Spare me. The second prince was almost scared to death. He screamed crazily. Although his cultivation was not weak, he was not strong enough in front of Etion. To be honest, the barbarian emperor was not very old back then. Therefore, the barbarian tribe princes were much younger than the crown prince and second prince of the Taishu dynasty. Their cultivation was naturally not comparable to the crown prince and second prince of the Taishu dynasty, not to mention Etion. I gave you a chance before. Unfortunately, you did not know how to cherish it. The first prince sneered. He took a step forward and charged towards the second prince like lightning. Then, a sword light flashed in his hand and slashed down. With a puff, the second prince was directly killed. The scene was silent. No one was too surprised by this scene. Almost everyone expected that there would be a bloody massacre today. It had always been like this. If you lost the fight for the throne, you would die. It did not matter if you were brothers. It was just that cruel. I'm willing to submit to the first prince. I'm also willing to support the first prince to become the barbarian emperor. The second prince's subordinates immediately surrendered when they saw that the second prince was dead. Great, haha. The first prince was overjoyed. After dealing with the second prince, the outcome was set. There was only the fifth prince left. He was not a threat. Fifth brother at that moment, the first prince looked at the fifth prince. Big brother. The fifth prince's face was pale. He could not speak clearly. Fifth brother, I'll give you a chance. I won't kill you. Destroy your own cultivation. The first prince said lightly. What? You want to destroy my cultivation? No, impossible. The fifth prince roared. If his cultivation was destroyed, how was he different from a cripple? This was something that no cultivator could accept. Big brother, I won't fight with you anymore. Let me go. Don't destroy my cultivation. The fifth prince roared and began to beg for mercy. Chapter 35-24. Impossible. If I don't destroy your cultivation, I can only send you to accompany my second brother. The first prince said coldly. In the barbarian tribe, the second prince and the fifth prince had great power and had won over a large number of experts. As long as the fifth prince was not dead or still had his cultivation, he would be a potential threat to his position. He would not allow this to happen. Fifth prince, let's go. Let's leave this place first before we come up with a countermeasure. At this moment, the elder behind the fifth prince transmitted his voice to him. Then, a force wrapped around the fifth prince and took him to the sky in an attempt to escape. Trying to escape? Take them down and kill them without mercy. The first prince roared. Etion and the other boundary emperor were already prepared. They had their eyes on the fifth prince and the boundary emperor beside him. As soon as the other party moved, they moved as well. Their speed was amazing, and they caught up in an instant. 2 terrifying attacks were launched at the fifth prince and the elder. The elder roared and used all his strength to fight back. However, he was alone after all. It was difficult for him to fight against 2 experts. After exchanging one blow, he retreated and his face turned pale. You guys, come and help me. The elder roared at the fifth prince's subordinates. Among those people, there were 9th and 8th realm divine lords. If they were to help, they would be able to hold Etion and the rest back for a while so that they could escape. The fifth prince's subordinates were hesitant. Now that the situation had been decided, if they were to take action, they would be going against the first prince. They would not have a good ending. With this hesitation, the first prince's subordinates rushed over and surrounded these people, leaving them no room to attack. In the sky, Etion and the elder continued to attack. The two of them were fighting against one person. Moreover, the other party was carrying the fifth prince and had to protect him. They were no match for them. Even if they tried their best to resist, it would be difficult to fight back. After barely blocking more than 10 blows, he was hit and coughed up blood. Old Wu, hold them back. I'll go first. The fifth prince roared and flew backward, allowing the elder to block Etion and the elder. Unfortunately, in such a situation, he would only die faster if he left Old Wu's protection. Boom boom. The three boundary emperors exchanged another blow. Old Wu retreated and his injuries worsened. Moreover, the terrifying energy swept out in all directions. A few of the energy surged towards the fifth prince at an astonishing speed. No, no. The fifth prince roared in fright as he tried his best to block the attack. However, this was the energy produced by the battle between three quasi-emperors. How could he withstand it? The force swept over, and the fifth prince did not even have the chance to scream before he exploded, his body and soul destroyed. Forget it. With the fifth prince dead, Old Wu let out a long sigh and finally stopped resisting. Etion continuously tapped his body, sealing his cultivation. Just like that, the second prince and the fifth prince were defeated. The outcome has been decided. It seems that the eldest prince is more powerful. He actually managed to win over Etion. That's right. With two quasi-emperors helping him, he defeated the other two princes at lightning speed. Good moves. The throne of the Berserker Emperor will belong to him. Many people were discussing this matter. As for the first prince, his face was filled with joy and he was in high spirits. He stood high up in the sky and looked down at everyone. His voice rang out, "Now, I've inherited the position of the barbarian emperor. Is there anyone else who has any objections?" The scene was dead silent. Haha, since there are no objections, let's begin the coronation ceremony. Today, I'm the barbarian emperor. The first prince said loudly. Wait a minute. However, at that moment, a discordant voice rang out. The first prince's face turned gloomy as he looked in a direction. That was where the eighth prince was standing. It was the eighth prince who had spoken earlier. Eighth brother, what do you mean by asking me to wait a minute? A cold light flashed in the first prince's eyes as he stared at the eighth prince. The eighth prince's face turned pale. He was still afraid of the first prince. However, when he thought of Etion, the master of Sky Barbarian, Lu Ming, and the others standing behind him, his courage was boosted. Everyone wanted the throne of the barbarian emperor, and he was no exception. In the past, he did not have the strength and backing to fight for it. Now that he had the strength to fight for it, why not? I don't think it's appropriate for eldest brother to be the barbarian emperor. The eighth prince took a deep breath and spoke. As soon as he said that, the scene fell into dead silence. Many people sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at the eighth prince in horror. What's wrong with the eighth prince? Is he courting death? Didn't he see what happened to the second prince and the fifth prince? At this time, the eighth prince still dared to say such words. Is he crazy? Or is he tired of living? The first prince narrowed his eyes and exuded a cold, murderous intent. Eighth brother, you said that I'm not suitable to be the barbarian emperor. Who do you think is suitable to be the barbarian emperor? The first prince said coldly. Everyone could hear the murderous intent in his voice. Me, the eighth prince replied. The scene fell silent again. Everyone looked at the eighth prince as if he was a fool. What did the eighth prince say? He's suitable to be the barbarian emperor? He's crazy. He's really crazy. The eighth prince, who is not talented enough and has no support, wants to be the barbarian emperor? Is this a joke? Or is he tired of living? The first prince's face darkened. His murderous intent was extremely cold. Ha ha ha. In the end, the first prince laughed from extreme anger and said, Eighth brother, originally, you just need to enjoy life properly. A trash like you, I can't be bothered to touch you either. Unfortunately, you're tired of living and want to come out and court death yourself. Then I'll fulfill your wish. You, send eighth brother on his way. The first prince instructed a subordinate. That subordinate was a ninth-level divine lord existence. He was also a pinnacle figure in the barbarian race. Killing an eighth prince did not require a quasi-emperor to take action. Swoosh. That ninth-level divine lord powerhouse's figure flashed, charging toward the eighth prince. His speed was swift to an astonishing extent. Beside the eighth prince, sitting there was Lu Ming. Without even needing Lu Ming to open his mouth, Zhu Tai beside Lu Ming made a move. Bang! Zhu Tai smacked a palm out, exchanging a move with the other party. A terrifying explosion sounded out. That subordinate of the first prince was blocked, his figure drifting backward. This made the first prince's eyes narrow slightly. Ninth-level divine lord, eighth brother. Looks like you have experts around you too. No wonder you dare to talk to me like this. But wanting to compete with me with just a ninth-level divine lord, it's truly too naive. The first prince said, Who said that there's only one ninth-level divine lord? At this time, Lu Ming's indifferent voice sounded out, attracting many people's gazes. However, Lu Ming and the rest were wearing black robes. This kind of black robes material was special. Others could not see through them immediately. A divine king realm trash. Is it your turn to speak here? The first prince said coldly. Then what about us? Giant Bear and the rest gave a light cry, all taking a step out, standing in front of Lu Ming. Following that, powerful auras erupted from their bodies. A terrifying pressure filled the air. Chapter 35-25. The aura of Giant Bear and the others burst out. It was like a mountain that stood between heaven and earth. The terrifying pressure made many people's faces change drastically. Boundary Emperor, you? How do you have a Boundary Emperor? The eldest prince's face changed drastically as he roared in disbelief. His eighth brother had always been incompetent. How could he have a Boundary Emperor by his side? Not only were there Boundary Emperors, but there were also as many as 5 ninth-level divine lords. This was a terrifying force. The others around were also shocked. Their hearts were in turmoil. Eldest brother, you're not the only one who can have a Boundary Emperor following you. I have one too. The eighth prince's face was filled with confidence. Hee, eighth brother, it seems that everyone has underestimated you. However, with just one Boundary Emperor and 5 ninth-level divine lords, do you think you can compete with me? Didn't you see what happened to second brother and fifth brother? Also, you're really stupid. You only jumped out now. If I were you, I would have taken action earlier to fight me with fifth brother and second brother. That way, there would still be a glimmer of hope. The eldest prince sneered, his face full of ridicule. Finally, he waved his hand and said coldly, Send eighth brother on his way. As soon as the eldest prince's voice fell, the Boundary Emperor who had defected to him moved. His figure was like lightning as he charged towards the eighth prince. However, Giant Bear roared angrily and slammed his paw against the Boundary Emperor. Both of them swayed and retreated slightly. However, Etion remained motionless. The eldest prince frowned and said, Etion, why aren't you attacking? If I attacked, you would already be dead. Etion said lightly. What? Hearing this, the eldest prince's hair stood on end. He quickly retreated and stared at Etion. You? What did you say? Ha ha ha, eldest brother. Didn't you hear what Marshal Etion said? Then let me tell you. Marshal Etion is my man. Do you understand? What? As soon as these words were spoken, the entire place exploded. Everyone was dumbfounded. Etion was actually the eighth prince's man. Then why was he by the eldest prince's side and helping him deal with the second prince and fifth prince? Etion, you traitor. The eldest prince roared. Traitor? Hee, from the very beginning, I had sided with the eighth prince. The reason why I agreed to your request was because I wanted to borrow your strength to deal with the second prince and the fifth prince. Etion sneered. Everyone suddenly understood. So that was how it was. Etion first borrowed the eldest prince's power to deal with the second prince and the fifth prince. Then, he helped the eighth prince deal with the eldest prince. What a profound scheme. The first prince's expression was extremely ugly. The figures of his subordinates flashed as they surrounded the first prince to protect him. All right, all right, all right. Etion, eighth brother, I have really underestimated you. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Instead, I have become the mantis. However, although you have two quasi-emperors, the outcome of today's battle remains to be seen. The first prince bellowed and slowly regained his composure. Although the eighth prince had two quasi-emperors, he was not afraid because he had more experts by his side. Although he was only a quasi-emperor, he had more ninth-level and eighth-level Divine Lord experts. With so many experts working together, they might be able to fight Etion and the others. After all, the eighth prince's foundation was not strong enough. He did not have as many ninth-level and eighth-level Divine Lords as he did. What if you include me? At this moment, another faint voice was heard. Then, a group of people stepped out. The leader was the Lord of Sky Barbarian. The others were his subordinates. The Lord of Sky Barbarian led his men to the back of the first prince and blocked his escape route. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. The Lord of Sky Barbarian also wanted to intervene and help the eighth prince? Wasn't the Lord of Sky Barbarian neutral all this while? No one could figure it out, including the first prince. His pupils shrank rapidly, and his face looked as though he had eaten a dead rat. He looked at the Lord of Sky Barbarian in shock and shouted, "Lord of Sky Barbarian, you are also one of the eighth brother's men?" "That's right," the Lord of Sky Barbarian said flatly. You, the first prince roared. He could not figure out why these experts were helping the eighth prince. Why? Eldest brother, destroy your own cultivation and I will spare your life. The eighth prince said flatly, don't even think about destroying my cultivation. Don't even think about it. Kill this bastard. Kill him. The first prince roared crazily with a ferocious face. However, the eyes of his subordinates flickered. There were 3 quasi-emperors around the eighth prince. The disparity in power was too great. If they were to fight, they would be in grave danger. They were only helping the first prince because of his wealth. There was no need for them to die with the first prince. Eighth prince, I am willing to pledge allegiance to you. Prince, me too. I am willing to pledge my loyalty to you. A few silhouettes left the first prince's side and bowed to the eighth prince. You traitors. The first prince's eyes were red and he was furious. In the end, he roared, I will kill all of you traitors. Having said that, he pounced on those people. However, the figures of those people flashed and avoided the first prince. First prince, admit defeat. At this moment, the quasi-emperor who had pledged allegiance to the first prince let out a long sigh. The first prince froze and trembled as though he had been electrocuted. Ha ha ha, you want me to surrender? You want me to destroy my cultivation? Impossible. I would rather die than destroy my cultivation. Eighth brother, let's fight to the death. The first prince laughed and charged towards the eighth prince. The dazzling sword light went straight for the eighth prince's glabella. However, Etion and the others were beside him. How could the first prince kill the eighth prince? Stubborn. I have no choice but to send you on your way. Etion said coldly as he threw a punch. The terrifying fist force made the crown prince scream in pain. His body retreated like a scarecrow and fell heavily to the ground, coughing up blood. He was severely injured and no longer had the strength to fight. However, Etion did not kill the first prince. He could not kill the first prince and could only leave it to the eighth prince. Eighth prince, since the first prince wants to die, let's fulfill his wish. Etion said. Hesitation flashed in the eighth prince's eyes. Finally, he gritted his teeth and took a step forward. A long sword appeared in his hand. He pierced the first prince's glabella and killed him. At this point, the first prince, second prince, and fifth prince, the 3 princes who were most likely to compete for the throne, had all fallen. Everyone's gaze fell on the eighth prince. Unexpectedly, the eighth prince, who had been ignored at the beginning, became the one who succeeded in the end. This was beyond everyone's expectations. Greetings, barbaric emperor. Etion was the first to bow. Greetings, barbaric emperor. Then, the Sky Barbarian Overlord and the others followed suit. The others reacted and bowed as well. Chapter 35-26. Lu Ming smiled. If the eighth prince ascended the throne and became the barbarian emperor, he would at least have the support of some of the barbarian tribe experts if there were any changes in the Taishu dynasty in the future. This was extremely beneficial to him. In this way, the barbarian tribe would not only not be his enemy but also his helper. At the critical moment, he would probably be able to give his enemies a huge surprise. After that, Lu Ming and the others had nothing to do. It was nothing more than the eighth prince ascending the throne and becoming the barbarian emperor. After that, they would hold important meetings. 3 days later, Lu Ming led Giant Bear and the others to bid farewell to Etion. This time, Blue Merchant planned to return to the Taishu dynasty with Lu Ming. Of course, they could not do so openly. They had to return secretly. Etion wanted to follow Lu Ming. However, the new barbarian emperor had just ascended the throne. Etion had to stay to stabilize the barbarian emperor and make him obedient. This way, they could borrow the power of the barbarian tribe in the future. Lu Ming left with the others without alerting anyone. They returned to the hidden dragon star quietly. After a while, peace was restored. Lu Ming sent people to search for news of his parents while cultivating. The dark ape fighting tribe also stepped up their cultivation of the primitive divine body and made great progress. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, 100 years had passed. In the backyard of the hidden dragon star, Lu Ming and Blue Merchant were drinking wine. Lan Shu, I have a question that I have always been curious about. Lu Ming took a sip of wine and asked, "What is it?" Blue Merchant said, "Since the last time I went to the barbarian tribe, I feel that the strength of the barbarian tribe is far from that of the Taishu dynasty at its peak." Lu Ming said, "In addition to those hidden resources, the barbarian tribe only had 5 quasi-emperors on the surface. Including the former barbarian emperor, there were only 6 quasi-emperors. However, Etion was not a barbarian. He belonged to the Taishu dynasty. According to what Lu Ming knew, there were more than 6 quasi-emperors in the Taishu dynasty. Especially when Jingyu was still alive, Etion also belonged to the Taishu dynasty. In addition, it was said that Jingyu had also reached the quasi-emperor realm. Their overall strength was stronger than the barbarians. That's right. When Jingyu was still alive, the strength of the Taishu dynasty reached its peak. It was indeed much stronger than the barbarian tribe. It could even destroy the barbarian tribe. However, because the Taishu dynasty was too strong, the Tianyi sacred dynasty and the barbarian tribe formed an alliance to fight against the Taishu dynasty. Blue Merchant said, "I see." Lu Ming nodded. No wonder the Taishu dynasty, which was so powerful, did not destroy the barbarian race. It turned out that the barbarian race and the Tianyi sacred dynasty had formed an alliance. Later, when the Taishu dynasty weakened, the alliance between the Tianyi sacred dynasty and the barbarian tribe was dissolved. In this way, the 3 forces always maintained a balance. Uncle Lan, was Prince Jingyu really at the quasi-emperor realm? Lu Ming asked curiously. That's right. Prince Jingyu was the youngest quasi-emperor in the history of the Taishu dynasty. His combat strength was unparalleled. He was the real #1 expert in the Taishu dynasty. Even the current sacred emperor was no match for him. Blue Merchant said with nostalgia in his eyes. The #1 expert. Lu Ming frowned and said, since Prince Jingyu was so strong, how could he be killed later? As long as he resisted, no one in the Taishu dynasty could kill him. Prince Jingyu was a peerless genius. He was invincible among those of the same level. Such a person could even fight those of a higher level. Even if there were more experts of the same level besieging him, it was impossible to kill him. Lu Ming was puzzled. Sigh. It's all because of that woman, the current sacred imperial concubine, Kong Shishue. Lan Shang gave a long sigh. Sacred imperial concubine? Lan Shu, what happened back then? Lu Ming asked. He had only heard rumors that Prince Jingyu had violated the sacred imperial concubine and met with misfortune. Lu Ming, now that you have great power, it's time to tell you. Blue Merchant paused for a moment and continued. In fact, the sacred imperial concubine and Jingyu were lovers at the beginning. They were truly in love, and were regarded as a golden couple by everyone. What? Lu Ming was stunned. His mouth was wide open, and he looked incredulous. This result was really out of Lu Ming's expectations. He never thought that the sacred imperial concubine was Jingyu's lover at the beginning. However, Jingyu went into seclusion to break through to the next level. He went into seclusion for 1,000 years. When he came out, Kang Shishue had already become the sacred imperial concubine. That was a huge blow to Jingyu. Moreover, Jingyu's cultivation had not reached the great accomplishment stage, and he could not resist. When Lan Shang sat up to hear, he let out another long sigh. Lu Ming was also silent. He could understand how big of a blow that was to Jingyu. In one seclusion, his former lover had become his mother. What a cliché. Could it be that Jingyu really violated the sacred imperial concubine? Lu Ming could not help but have this thought. The sacred imperial concubine was Jingyu's first lover. It was not impossible that he could not let go of her. If that was the case, how could the case be overturned? Don't think too much. Blue Merchant seemed to have seen through Lu Ming's thoughts and immediately said, I know Jingyu very well. He is definitely not that kind of person and would never do such a thing. Jingyu must have been framed back then. They were caught red-handed by the sacred imperial concubine. The sacred imperial concubine was furious and attacked directly. Jingyu did not even have time to react before he was severely injured. Otherwise, no one in the Taishu dynasty could have killed him. If someone framed Prince Jingyu, then the sacred imperial concubine must be involved. After so many years, has no one confronted the sacred imperial concubine? Lu Ming asked. I have thought about this for a long time, but the sacred imperial concubine has been living in seclusion all these years. Ordinary people can't see her at all. Moreover, the matter between the sacred imperial concubine and Jingyu has become a taboo. No one dares to mention it. I have tried many times to see the sacred imperial concubine, but I was stopped. Blue Merchant sighed. It seems that if we want to overturn the case, we have to start with the sacred imperial concubine. She probably knows all the secrets, Lu Ming said, but he frowned. How could he meet the sacred imperial concubine? And how could he make her reveal the secrets? The sacred imperial concubine had abandoned Jingyu and married the sacred emperor. Later on, she had framed Jingyu. This showed how vicious this woman was. It was almost impossible to get her to reveal the secrets herself. I'm afraid that the sacred imperial concubine wasn't the only one who did that. There must be other conspirators behind the scenes. Blue Merchant said, Crown Prince. Lu Ming immediately thought of the Crown Prince. Back then, Jingyu was too outstanding and seriously threatened the Crown Prince's position. The Crown Prince had 100 reasons to frame Jingyu. It's hard to say. I have secretly investigated these years, but I haven't made much progress, Blue Merchant said. The main reason was that his cultivation was crippled, and he did not have much strength. After chatting with Blue Merchant for a while, Lu Ming fell into deep thought. He slowly sorted out the information he had just received and organized his thoughts. There must be a big secret in this matter. Chapter 35-27. In the beginning, the imperial concubine Kang Shishue and Jingyu were lovers. Then, after Jingyu went into seclusion, Kang Shishue married the imperial concubine. Later on, when Jingyu's cultivation reached a high level, he was framed and caught by the imperial concubine. The imperial concubine attacked and injured Jingyu severely. Something must have happened. Otherwise, with Jingyu's cultivation, how could he not fight back and be severely injured? Could it be that Jingyu was seriously injured because he saw the imperial concubine suddenly arrive? Or was there another reason? After Jingyu was severely injured, Jingyu's forces were besieged by the imperial concubine. Some were killed, some were sealed, and some escaped. Even Blue Merchant's star core was destroyed. However, Jingyu's subordinates were certain that Jingyu was wrongly accused. This was because Blue Merchant said that after Jingyu was severely injured, he was executed in public. However, at the crucial moment, Jingyu sent a message to Blue Merchant, saying that he was wrongly accused. This sentence was enough for him. Blue Merchant and the others firmly believed that Jing Yu was wrongly accused because they knew Jing Yu's character too well. Therefore, they wanted to overturn Jing Yu's case. I'm afraid there's a deep secret in this matter. How should we proceed? Lu Ming rubbed his forehead, feeling a headache coming on. Now, his cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th layer of the Divine King realm. He was not far from the Divine Lord realm. Back then, Xian Yinqing had asked Hong Yang to leave him a jade talisman. The talisman said that the location of Xian Yinqing's group was sealed in it. As long as Lu Ming's cultivation reached the Divine Lord realm, he would be able to break the seal and find out the location of Xian Yinqing's group. Also, Autumn Moon might have gone to the Divine Dragon Mother planet. He had to search for her. However, he had promised Jing Yu that it would be difficult for him to leave until the matter of the Taishu dynasty was resolved. Therefore, the matter of the Taishu dynasty had to be resolved as soon as possible. Taishu dynasty, Imperial Palace. Congratulations, Imperial Father. I did not let you down and found the Twin Life Stone. As long as you refine the Twin Life Stone, you may break through to the Divine Emperor realm and enjoy 100 stellar years of life. The second prince bowed to the Taishu Sage Emperor, holding a jade box in his hand. At this moment, the Great Void Saint Emperor was extremely excited. Divine power burst forth, and the jade box in the second prince's hand appeared in his hand. Taishu opened the jade box. There was a stone the size of the Twin Life. This piece of rock had 2 colors, and multicolored light constantly flowed on it. It was incomparably magical. Twin Life Stone. Is this the legendary Twin Life Stone? The Taishu Sacred Emperor's breathing quickened. There was a peerless treasure in this world called the 3 Lives Stone. This was the life had 3 lifetimes of the 3 lifetimes of the divine heavens. Was life was life was life was living was life? Of course, the Twin Life Stone was not the 3 Life Stone. Legend had it that it was a companion item to the 3 Life Stone, but it was also extremely rare. This was a treasure that could only be found by chance. It was 10,000 times more valuable than the divine pearls. Good. You have done a great service this time. The Taishu Sacred Emperor praised the 3 Life Stone. For someone like him who was nearing the end of his lifespan, nothing was more tempting than the Twin Life Stone. Ever since he had lived 10 stellar years of life, he could clearly feel that he was getting weaker and weaker. No matter how many spiritual pills and precious treasures he used, it was useless. His soul was shrinking and drying up day by day. If this continued, he would not be able to hold on for another 200 years before he disappeared. 200 years was just a blink of an eye to them. During this time, he had become more and more irritable. Imperial Father, the Twin Life Stone is not the 3 Life Stone. It has a great drawback. After refining it, there is only a 50% success rate. Once you succeed, you will be able to live another life and even have a breakthrough in your cultivation. However, if you fail, you will completely fall and vanish into thin air. The second prince bowed and said, even if there is only a 50% success rate, we have to give it a try. The Taishu Sacred Emperor's eyes were burning. How could he not know about the drawbacks of the Twin Life Stone? However, if he did not try, he would die. If he succeeded, he would break through to the Divine Emperor realm and become a true Divine Emperor. Not only would he be extremely powerful, but his lifespan would also reach 100 stellar years. One had to know that since the establishment of the Taishu dynasty, it had only been 50 stellar years. How long was that? Even if there was only a 10% chance of success, he had to give it a try, let alone a 50% success rate. Then let me congratulate Imperial Father in advance for your successful breakthrough. The second prince bowed and said, Good. You may leave. I will study it first. The Taishu Sacred Emperor waved his hand. The second prince left. Not long after, in the depths of the second prince's residence. Second prince, did you really give His Majesty the Twin Life Stone? One of the second prince's trusted aides asked. This person was an old man in a yellow robe. The real Twin Life Stone? How is that possible? This kind of treasure is extremely rare. If I had the real Twin Life Stone, why would I give it to that old man? The second prince smiled faintly. It's fake? If the Divine Emperor finds out about it, I'm afraid it will be detrimental to the second prince. The yellow-robed old man's expression changed drastically. Don't worry. I know that old man too well. The success rate of refining the twin life stone is only 50%. There is a great risk involved. Therefore, before refining the twin life stone, the old man will definitely do one thing. That is to remove all of the clan residences and control all of the Taishu dynasty's territory. This has always been the old man's wish. He wants to be the divine emperor. However, once he removes the clan residences, it will definitely cause a wave of internal strife. If he does this normally, it will cause too much of a stir and it will be detrimental to the Taishu dynasty. However, this is a great opportunity. The barbarian emperor has fallen, and the barbarian race is in chaos. They won't be able to attack us for the time being. This is the best opportunity to remove the clan residences. If he fails to refine the twin life stone, he can still be the divine emperor, right? The second prince said, Second prince, you're saying that the heavenly king's residences and marquis's residences won't be willing to be removed and will rise up in revolt. However, with their strength, they won't be able to contend against the divine emperor. The yellow-robed old man said, Of course. However, isn't there still my big brother? The second prince smiled faintly. The crown prince? The yellow-robed old man's eyes flickered. My big brother has been coveting the divine emperor's position for many years. He has been waiting for a long time. Finally, the old man's lifespan is nearing its end. However, if he finds out that the old man has obtained the twin life stone and has a 50% chance of entering the divine emperor realm, what do you think he will do? The second prince smiled as if he had the pearl of wisdom in his hand. The yellow-robed old man's eyes lit up. Even if there's only a 50% chance of success, the crown prince won't take the risk. Because once the divine emperor succeeds, the crown prince will completely lose the throne. So, he will fight with all his might and rebel? Ha ha ha, so send someone to secretly inform my big brother. The Taishu dynasty will soon have a great show. That will be our chance. The divine emperor's position will be mine. The second prince laughed loudly. Chapter 35-28. The second prince had been planning for this day for a long time. He couldn't wait until the sage emperor reached the end of his lifespan. If that happened, the crown prince would naturally inherit the sage emperor's position. Moreover, once the crown prince inherited the throne, he would definitely not let him off. Therefore, he had to stir up the situation. A fake twin life stone could successfully stir the water into a pot of porridge. That would be his chance. Come, let the storm come even fiercer. The second prince revealed an expectant and sinister smile. Not long after, in the crown prince's residence, twin life stone, damn it, damn it. The crown prince roared, his eyes red. He had just found out through a secret channel that the second prince had found a twin life stone for the Taishu sage emperor. Although the twin life stone only had a 50% success rate, he couldn't accept it. A 50% success rate was already a very high success rate. Let alone 50%, even if the success rate was only 10%, he still wouldn't accept it. What if the Taishu sage emperor succeeded? What would he do then? Could he only be the crown prince for the rest of his life until he died of old age? Unless he could break through to the divine emperor realm. But with his talent, it was basically impossible without a miracle. Old man, I wanted to let you live for a few hundred more years so that you could leave peacefully. I didn't expect you to insist on causing trouble. You're courting death. Don't blame me for being ruthless. The crown prince's eyes flashed with shocking killing intent. 3 days later, the confidants of the sacred emperor left the Great Void's sacred capital and headed to the residences of the heavenly kings, marquises, generals, and soldiers to pass on an order. The Taishu sage emperor had summoned all the lords of the heavenly king's residences, marquises' residences, generals' residences, and soldiers' residences to the Taishu sacred capital. Strange, didn't the sage emperor's birthday banquet just end? Why are they going again? Many of the lords were surprised when they received the order. Almost all the lords had attended the sage emperor's birthday banquet. How many years had it been? Why was the sage emperor summoning them to the Taishu sacred capital? Of course, since the sage emperor had given the order, they had to go. Many lords began to move. As for Lu Ming, he naturally received the order from the king and was also shocked. Strange, I feel that something bad is going to happen this time. Lu Ming frowned. His spiritual sense told him that something big was going to happen this time. I once heard from Jingyu that the Taishu Saint Emperor has always had a wish, which is to remove all the clan residences and unify all the territories under the control of the royal family. Right now, the Sacred Emperor's time is almost up. Before he dies, he might really do it. Besides, the Berserker Emperor has just died not too long ago, and the internal structure of the Berserker tribe is not stable yet. This is a good chance. Lan Shang carefully speculated. Uncle Lan, are you saying that the Saint Emperor will eliminate all of the clan residences? But Lan Shang said. Just in case, send a message to Etion and ask him to come to the Taishu Sacred Court. Although he had brought many experts from the Lost Galaxy, there was only one Boundary Emperor. To be on the safe side, he wanted Etion to come with him to the Taishu Sacred Capital. 2 Boundary Emperors should be enough to protect themselves. Of course, he thought of the Undying Demon Lord. The Undying Demon Lord was at least a Boundary Emperor, maybe even higher. Lu Ming even speculated that the Undying Demon Lord was a real divine emperor. One had to know that the Saint Devil Dynasty was a country before the Taishu Sacred Dynasty, and the Taishu Sacred Dynasty had been established for about 50 stellar years. Even if the Undying Demon King was sealed, he could still survive from the Saint Devil Dynasty until now. Could a quasi-emperor do that? Only a divine emperor could do that. If the Demon King was not a divine emperor, even if he had been sealed for a long time and his vitality was greatly damaged, he would have recovered some of his battle strength after breaking the seal for a long time. He would definitely be a great helper if he was not a divine emperor. However, Lu Ming felt that it was not the right time for the Undying Demon Lord to appear. The Undying Demon Lord was a big shot. He had to use him at a critical moment. After the message was sent out, Etion rushed over after some time. Of course, he was alone. He could not bring the others along. After Etion arrived, Lu Ming brought Blue Merchant, Giant Bear, Zhu Tai, and the others to the Taishu Sacred Capital. Etion, Giant Bear, and the others wore thick armor and disguised themselves as Lu Ming's guards. At the same time, they restrained their aura to the extreme. Soon, the Taishu Sacred Capital was in sight. Who is it? At this moment, Blue Merchant shouted coldly in a direction. His soul power was shining between his eyebrows. Blue Merchant's soul power was extremely strong. Therefore, his spiritual sense was extremely sharp. Even boundary emperors like Etion and Giant Bear could not compare to him in this aspect. His soul power has reached the Sir God level. His spiritual sense is sharp. In the starry sky ahead, there was a ripple and a figure appeared. This figure was wrapped in a black robe and was surrounded by a black fog. Her appearance could not be seen clearly. One could barely make out that the figure was petite and seemed to be a woman. Who are you? Who sent you? Lu Ming asked. You don't need to know who sent me. My master sent me here to tell you that this trip is dangerous. After the other party finished speaking, her figure flashed and disappeared. Lu Ming and the others did not pursue because the other party did not have any ill intentions. She seemed to have good intentions. This trip is dangerous. The other party left behind these 4 words. Lu Ming and Blue Merchant frowned. Obviously, the other party was reminding them that this trip to the Taishu Sacred Capital was dangerous. Could it be that this time, as Blue Merchant had guessed, the Saint Emperor was going to eliminate all the clan residences before his death? However, who was this person? Who was the master that she mentioned? Why did she send someone to warn them? It was obvious that she had good intentions. However, Lu Ming had come prepared this time. He had 2 quasi-emperors with him. Even if the Saint Emperor wanted to eliminate the clan residences, he would be able to protect himself. At most, he would just make a fuss and retreat. He did not believe that the Saint Emperor would kill all the clan residences just to eliminate the clan residences. That was impossible. Doing so would shake the foundations of the Taishu dynasty. At most, he would kill a few as a warning to others. Looks like I guessed correctly this time. Blue Merchant frowned. No matter what, if he wants to eliminate the clan residences, let him do it. As long as we have a foothold, it's fine. Lu Ming said. The marquee residences were just a name. Lu Ming did not care. As long as he had power, nothing was more important. Lu Ming and the others continued forward into the Taishu sacred capital. They arrived at the Hidden Dragon marquee residence and waited. A month later, all the clan residences had arrived at the Taishu sacred capital. Then, the Saint Emperor ordered them to gather in the palace. Chapter 35-29. Behind the palace was a huge courtyard. This was where the sacred emperor usually entertained his guests. Today, it was packed with people. Tables and chairs were placed in different areas. Every heavenly king's residence and marquee residence had their own area. The highest part of the courtyard was where the Great Void's sacred emperor and the other members of the royal family sat. Below them were the 27 areas. This was where the 27 heavenly kings' residences were located. At the bottom, there were even more tables and chairs. This was where the marquee residence, general residence, and soldier residence were located. Lu Ming brought Etion, Giant Bear, and the others to the Hidden Dragon residences area and sat down quietly. They waited quietly. Etion, Giant Bear, and the others were wearing armor. They sat behind Lu Ming and did not attract much attention. They were treated as Lu Ming's bodyguards. As time passed, more and more people arrived. Soon, Lu Ming and the others were drowned in the crowd. Half an hour later, everyone arrived. Lu Ming looked around and saw 9 Extinction Heavenly King, 9 Sabers Heavenly King, and the others. However, he did not see 1,000 Holy Old Heavenly King. This was because the Heavenly King of the 1,000 Holy Heavenly King residence was not 1,000 Holy Old Heavenly King. His Majesty has arrived. A sharp voice was heard. The Great Void's sacred emperor, the Crown Prince, and the others stepped into the air and arrived. So many experts. Lu Ming looked around and saw a group of black-robed men behind the sacred emperor. These black-robed men looked calm, but Lu Ming felt a strong sense of danger from them. These people gave him a lot of pressure. The sacred emperor arrived and sat at the top. Greetings, sacred emperor. Everyone stood up and bowed. After not seeing him for a while, the Great Void's sacred emperor looked even more lethargic. His eyes were cloudy, and he looked like he was going to pass away at any time. Please take a seat. The Great Void's sacred emperor waved his hand, and everyone took their seats. Everyone, please drink. The Great Void's sacred emperor raised his wineglass and took a sip. Everyone was filled with doubts. They did not know why the Taishu Saint Emperor had called them here. However, they could only suppress the doubts in their hearts and raise their wine cups to take a sip. After the Saint Emperor took a sip, his eyes lit up. At this moment, the Taishu Saint Emperor was no longer lethargic. Instead, he was like a terrifying beast that had awakened, emitting a terrifying aura. Everyone felt their hearts tighten. The reason why the Sage Emperor had gathered them here was finally going to be revealed. The Great Void Saint Emperor's gaze swept across the entire place, sweeping across everyone. I'm sure you're all curious about why I've suddenly summoned you here. I'll get straight to the point. I've summoned you here because there's a traitor among you. The Great Void Saint Emperor's voice reverberated throughout the area, sounding a little cold. What? Everyone was shocked. Heavenly King Hao Xin, you secretly colluded with the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty and sold a large number of divine artifacts to them. Do you know your crime? Suddenly, the Great Void's Sacred Emperor's gaze landed on one of the Heavenly King's manors. Heavenly King Hao Xin was one of the top 8 Heavenly King mansions in the Taishu Dynasty. Heavenly King Hao Xin's strength was even more shocking. He was a 9th-level Divine Lord. However, at this moment, Heavenly King Hao Xin's expression changed. He cupped his fists and said, "Your Majesty, there's definitely no such thing. Are you mistaken?" Heavenly King Hao Xin had indeed cooperated with the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty and traded treasures with each other. In fact, many Heavenly King mansions were doing this kind of thing. Everyone was well aware of it, but they could not say it out loud. Otherwise, it would not be good. Since the Great Void Saint Emperor had brought it up, he naturally could not admit it. You're still quibbling. I've already collected enough evidence. Do you want me to show it to you? The great void Saint Emperor said coldly. This, heavenly king Hao Xian began to break out in cold sweat. In the end, he cupped his fists and knelt down. He said, Your Majesty, I have indeed traded divine artifacts with the Tianyi sacred dynasty. However, that was many years ago. Your Majesty, please punish me. Have you finally admitted it? Selling divine artifacts to the Tianyi sacred dynasty is a crime of treason. You must be punished. Now, cripple your own cultivation. Also, Heavenly King Hao Xian Mansion does not need to exist in the future. I will send people to guard the territory of Heavenly King Hao Xian Mansion, the Taishu dynasty said lightly. What? As soon as these words came out, the entire place fell into a dead silence. Except for a few people, most people were shocked. He had only sold divine artifacts to the Tianyi sacred dynasty, but the Great Void Saint Emperor actually wanted to cripple Heavenly King Hao Xian's cultivation and even remove Heavenly King Hao Xian Mansion from the list. Heavenly King Hao Xian Mansion had existed since the Taishu dynasty was established. It had experienced countless years, but now the Taishu dynasty wanted to remove it with just a few words? Heavenly King Hao Xian was also stunned. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Originally, he thought that even if the Great Void Saint Emperor found out about this kind of thing, he would only be casually punished and hand over some treasures. He never dreamed that the Great Void Saint Emperor would actually want to cripple his cultivation. He was a 9th-level Divine Lord, the top combat power of the Taishu dynasty. Was he going to be crippled just like that? This was not a 9th-level Divine Lord. There were not many 9th-level Divine Lords in the entire Taixu dynasty. Moreover, he wanted to cripple the entire Heavenly King Hao Xian Mansion. Saint Emperor, I refuse to accept this. Heavenly King Hao Xian shouted. Since you have committed a crime, you have to accept the punishment. Are you going to do it yourself, or should I do it? The Great Void Saint Emperor's voice was cold. Let's go. Suddenly, Heavenly King Hao Xian roared. His body burst up and rushed towards the sky. The experts he brought followed Heavenly King Hao Xian and rushed into the sky, wanting to escape. Heavenly King Hao Xian was an overlord after all. He would definitely not allow himself to be captured. However, when Heavenly King Hao Xian rushed into the sky, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky. It was an extremely burly figure wearing iron armor. Military King. Many people were shocked. They recognized that this was the Great Void Military King, the highest commander of the Grand Council, the military king who commanded the world's troops. Kill! The military king shouted coldly as the battle spear in his hand swept out. Boom! A huge battle spear pressed towards Heavenly King Hao Xian. Heavenly King Hao Xian roared and erupted with all his strength. He wanted to block it, but it was useless. He could not withstand a single blow. Under the spear, Heavenly King Hao Xian screamed. His arms exploded, and even half of his body exploded. His body fell to the ground and crashed heavily. Countless runes immediately spread out on the ground, enveloping the entire palace. After Heavenly King Hao Xian crashed to the ground only shook a little but did not explode. Heavenly King Hao Xian vomited blood. His aura was extremely weak. He had already been severely injured. Although Heavenly King Hao Xian had the cultivation of a 9th-level Divine Lord, the military king was a quasi-emperor. There was still a huge gap between them. He was severely injured in one move. After severely injuring Heavenly King Hao Xian, the military king waved his spear again. After a series of explosions, Heavenly King Hao Xian's subordinates were all severely injured. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.